Welcome back to Agenda Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. Tonight, we want to know if we are really prepared for the March 4th general election. Kipchumba, before we took a break, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to add something. Perry's asked a very good question about separation of powers, the function of IEBC vis-a-vis the executive. I think there is, even in the theory of separation of powers, there is nothing like complete separation of powers. It's functional separation of powers. To the extent that you are able to assist yourself to achieve your mandate, there is a positive assistance to achieve your mandate, there's no problem. In fact, how government came in and said they're going to assist to expedite the process of getting a PVR, it's acceptable. We must look at the end product than basically looking at whether or not someone came to assist.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take my next question from Elkana Juma, who is a researcher. Elkana.
Okay, my name is Elkana. In the recent past, we have been experiencing a very rare thing that has happened in our country. Chiefs demonstrating, demanding their rights concerning their jobs. Now, I want to know, what is the stand of CIC concerning the provincial administration?
Okay, provincial administration, Mr. Weganja.
Well, I think one should ask what is the stand of the Constitution on provincial administration. I think the Constitution recognizes that the provincial administration is going to be in some form in the next dispensation. But it is clear that it needs to be restructured. And it needs to be restructured to recognize that we have a devolved government system. So it cannot exist in the same way it has existed. So whether chiefs will remain is a question of what are the functions that the national government is allowed by the Constitution to play in the counties and who should play that role. Now, our concern as a commission has been that government has been fairly silent on how that new structure will look like. And we have been asking government for the last, I think, 1 year, please give us the framework of how national government will look like in the next dispensation. And that would answer the question of the chiefs, the DOs, the DCs, and a lot of other people. And I think that issue is urgent because you don't want a situation where we have a new government in office and the question of those respective administration is not resolved. So we're asking for a quick, either a law or an administrative policy that is clear on what that will look like.
Do you have a personal position you can share with us about this?
I think it's difficult. It really is about functions. You know, if the national government has a function in the county, and that function can be played by those people called chiefs, I think that is all right. But they cannot play the role they've been playing. For example, a lot of those roles have actually been given to the county government. A lot of issues of security have been given to the security sector. They are not left to the national government. So in a sense, there are certain functions that chiefs have been playing that they can no longer play.
Why was CIC against the appointment of county commissioners, for instance?
Because we felt that what the Constitution asks for is a restructuring of the provincial administration. So what we were saying, what does that restructuring look like? How do the county commissioners fit in that restructuring? What is the basis on which they have been appointed? Have they followed constitutional principles about public participation, competitive recruitment? Have we asked what role are they going to play in relation to devolved government? Okay. So those are the issues we are raising about the constitutional application of restructuring the provincial administration.
Masimi, what do you think about this provincial administration debate?
I think for me it's a practical matter because they are filling a space that is useful for public administration. The chief, the three functions of the arms of government are fused in the chief. They even perform judicial functions.
The chiefs.
The chiefs, yeah.
So as a person, would you want the chief near you, Steve?
Yes. They play a very important role, and especially with the new dispensation and the reforms that have happened in terms of performance contracting, they are the best people to deal with now. Okay. And I think they're useful.
All right, let's get to the audience now. The gentleman with 2 hands up.
Thank you. My name is Abdi Korio. I'm environmentalist and an aspirant Ijara constituency in Garissa County. And my question goes to Wakili Kimurgur. Is it enough the time allocated for casting the votes, the one day time, is it enough to conclude the voting, considering that no voter education was carried out? Most of people from Ijara and Elgeyo Marakwet, among other hardship areas, are illiterate and voter-assisted recruitment of clerks is not done. In fact, my area, 40 out of 80 were recruited, 40 are remaining for whatever reasons. So Wakili, can you give whether that duration is enough? And 7 positions are voted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that question. There's a forest of hands on my left. I'll just take one. The most enthusiastic lady in green.
My name is Jane Harvey. I'm from Nairobi. My concern is just about the preparedness of our people towards the elections. I was up country, that is in Western. To be specific, I was at Chavakali, and I asked my mother, who is about 80 years old. I asked her, what will you do? Kura ziko karibu. Then what she told me was, walisema tutachukuliwa vidole. So tutapigia kila mahali. Unapigia kwenye huko. So the CIC, could you please do something about it? Because our people are not in the know-how. We still don't know how we are going to do this.
Okay, thank you. On my right now, the lady in second row.
My name is Frida. I'm from Kenyatta University. My concern was on the county government. Like personally, where I come from Tharaka Nithi County. Okay, there is rumors have it that the location of the county will be changed. And then we are not sure about that. That is, if the senator comes from, there are 2, currently it is located in Chuka town, and rumors are like if the senator or the governor comes from Tharaka, they're going to change the county government. Okay, and we have concern like, now what's the way forward? Do you have measures that have taken, that have already said to cater for this?
Okay, thank you. One last one, gentleman in red.
My name is Mohammed from Mombasa County. Now there is this problem of, they call it historical injustices. Yeah, mostly when it comes to land, from the coast, Central Province, and I believe Rift Valley also. So because of the historical injustices that have been done, that is why we find that groups like the MRC, like the Mungiki, like the Sabaot Land Defense Forces, they arise from the historical injustices. So what are the measures that are going to be taken to make sure that these historical injustices are dealt with, and such groups, they don't arise again?
Thank you for that. We'll go systematically. I start with you, Kipchumba. There are, I think, 2 questions for you. You'll respond to the time of casting from the gentleman from Northeastern, Ijara. Then you will respond to, there was a question about, from Tharaka Nithi about, because I know you participated in a task force that was looking into these areas.
I was tempted with the chief's issue, but let's leave it now. The issue of the polling booths, or during the polling day.
Yes.
I think the decision will have to be made by IEBC to increase the polling booths. Otherwise, we will be, we may take forever to vote for 6 people. And I think they try to do a test, a mock voting around the country. Now they've determined how many people will vote in how many hours and so forth. That will explain how many polling clerks will need. The very sure thing we know now is that it will cost more to do the next elections than the past.
So the idea here is to increase the number of booths.
Yes, booths, so that we can be able to.
Because I know during the mock election, especially in Kajiado, there were complaints. Even when there were those number of booths, results took about 7 hours. 7 hours to come out.
And I think it was important that it happened at that stage so that they can use it to correct. The only challenge we have is that IEBC is going through so many problems at a very short time. Registration of the voters, moving to the question of preparedness for the polling and so forth. But we must trust also our own people. And I think the only thing remaining for IEBC, I don't think we don't trust IEBC, but they need to do more. They need to invest a little bit more on the PR so that communication can come out continuously.
I want Kipchumba to finish, then I spread the debate. There was a question
on county headquarters.
Frida.
I think county headquarters is not written anywhere anywhere in the Constitution. It's upon the various counties to sit down and agree on the best place. And it's not something that can be done. It is administrative. So today you can decide that the county headquarters is X point. And if county assembly and the county executive sit down and they think that it is time to move to another place, my proposal has been that you can even do something akin to what South Africans have done. You can decide that we will put our county assembly one place and county executive the other, and then you push yourself even harder to ensure that there's communication from one end to another, and they will be fair.
Local leaders.
It's a local leader's decision to make. Yeah.
Okay. Ken, you wanted to respond, and as you do that, I also wanted to tie in the historical injustices question from Mohammed.
Okay, just on the time taken for voting, we monitored the mock elections, and it took a lot of time, between 10 to 12 minutes, per individual. Well, the commission can increase the number of polling stations, but they have budget issues, and I think we envisage a situation, and they anticipate it, where voting might roll over to the next day. And I think the best thing that the commission should do now is to engage people in terms of, okay, if it rolls over, what protocols do you have in place to secure the vote? Because it is the trust issues that caused us problem in the last election. So they should be very proactive on that and tell us, okay, it can be allowed. The next day will be elections if it's not over. Okay. But how do we secure the ballots that people are sure that what we put in is what we find in the morning? Yeah, I think the historical injustice issues is a tough one. There's a commission going on, and we all know the problems with it. But I think you can tie it with the idea of civic education. Yes, we had a very centralized government that was riding roughshod over regions. Now I think we believe in our county governments. Why can't we engage them to address some of these issues? I think civic education and telling people that there's an option. You don't have to take the radical option of seceding. You can wait for your county government and engage it to address some of these issues. Now we have a new constitution and new structures that can help address these problems.
Okay.
That's my take.
Then Kamodo, there was a question from Jane about CIC. Then you can respond to any other.
Okay, I think Jane's question is about preparedness. And yes, I think we are all aware that most Kenyans, there's a serious gap in terms of information and awareness on their responsibilities at different levels. By the way, I suspect that a lot of Kenyans don't even know that for you to be nominated for a party, to get into the party list, especially for women because of the gender gap, you must be a member of a party by the 4th of January. There are a lot of things that people don't know. Voters don't know about their rights in terms of voting. Voters don't know about their responsibilities in the new dispensation with regard to budget planning and all those things. And there is work going on at two levels. The Ministry of Justice is running a civic education program. It doesn't have sufficient funding, but there's some work going on. We're challenging media, civil society, religious bodies to actually do a massive campaign in civic education. IEBC itself is doing voter education. It obviously is not enough, and a lot of work will need to be done. But I think Kenyans must also continue to, especially for those who have awareness, we must take responsibility. I'll give you an example. The bulk of elections in this country are actually won or lost at nominations, which has no BVR. Most of us don't bother participating. But I suspect in the TNA, ODM, URP zones, once nominations happens, the elections have happened. The bulk of us don't bother to participate. Okay. That is where elections are lost. And we must involve. Let me say something final on historical injustices. Let us recognize that the Constitution actually addresses those issues. The Land Acts that were passed about a month ago sets up a very powerful commission called the National Land Commission. One of its responsibilities is that within the first 2 years, I think the first 2 years, it must set up a mechanism of resolving all those historical injustices. It must ensure that there is both legislation and a structure, whether it's by way of a tribunal, that seeks to resolve those issues fully. And I think that is so important, so that as Kenyans, we now all feel all part of a just country. So something is going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that is where the curtains fall. That is where the curtains fall for Agenda Kenya this week. I thank my panel and my studio audience for that insightful debate, and to all of you at home for being part of this discussion. You can still join this conversation by answering this question. Are you satisfied with the pace at which the Constitution is being implemented? Are you satisfied with the pace at which the Constitution is being implemented? You know the drill. Text your answer to the number on your screen. Give us your name and where you're watching us from. You can also extend this discussion to our pages, Facebook and Twitter pages. And let's get to know what you think about this. And until next week, goodbye.